part 3 of my story today. So I won't be doing much on the chat at all. And I'm also going to take this a little bit slower because I've been trying to pack a lot in. I was thinking I would just get it out in like 4 videos, but I'm realizing, there's a lot to it, and I want to highlight certain areas and maybe even teach a little bit on the way and stuff as I do tell this story. And especially now, because what I'm going to say next and what happened to me in my 30s and 40s was pretty amazing. So, with all this guidance and everything that was coming, I'm going to touch on a few things today. Like I said in my title, I'm going to touch on meeting with a Cherokee elder and our telepathic communication, the Sundance that I went to, my first manifestation that I did real time, and a few other things. So, and a reptilian attack that happened to me and how I got out of it. I actually do have a video on that, which is getting quite a few views. So there's obviously other people out there that are having problems, and did have problems. We're certainly coming into a whole new game now. But I do want to at least record what had happened back then, so that if anyone is in that position, they have some sort of know-how on the power that they have from within themselves to get themselves out. Because do remember, just because I see into different frequencies, or I have seen into different frequencies, and I have what people might perceive as some sort of ability to channel and stuff, there is absolutely no difference in my makeup and being human, in my brain and everything else than you guys. I might have been more aware of it or more empathic to it, but there's absolutely no reason why anything that I do you cannot do. Really need to make sure of that. So in seeing that, I'm going to start off with my stories. First of all, after I woke up from that shamanic journey, I started getting a lot of first of all, there is one thing that I want to fix up. There was a word called moye with the Fijian story that I told you about. I revisited my notes, and what the Fijian shaman said to me was, she's trying to say good night with a lullaby. So moye didn't mean good night. I think it meant I am, or that I am, or something like that. It meant another word. So I just wanted to fix that one up, because I don't like, whatever I say has to be the truth. It's just something with me. Yeah. So there was a mistake made there last story, but you know how you just approach somebody and you say, this person was singing blah blah, and they say to you in another language, because he's Fijian, means good night, lullaby. That's the sort of thing that had happened, and I assumed at the time he was saying that the actual word meant good night, but he didn't mean that at all when I read my notes again. Okay, so let's get back into it. So I was getting a lot of messages. I even ended up getting messages from the dead. People were passed over. People were trying to send messages through to their loved ones. At the time, I was actually watching The Medium, and I think that's why that was seeping through with Alison Dubois in it. I knew I had the ability to be able to do that sort of thing because I could see into other frequencies. But I did decide that's not the avenue that I wanted to go down, that I wanted to go down the human potential and, a lot more into that side of things. I was visited by small UFOs. Like I said, I had encounters with elementals and stuff, which I want to get into that a little bit more, because there's more to the elemental story than meets the eye. And maybe that would be another life story talk. I used to have like falling rocks falling on me. I remember one day I just went, what does this even mean? You know, why am I waking up and seeing falling rocks? And my partner at the time, my girl's dad, just woke up out of his dream and spoke these words. He said, we're showing we're showing you the path. We're clearing the path so you can see it, or something like that. Or we're showing you the path so that we can clear it, or something like that. Anyway, these words came out of his mouth, which obviously wasn't from him. It was from somebody else. He can't remember any of that, by the way. And what else did I have? Yeah, just you name it. Just like I actually got even a phone call from the dead. It was really interesting when it happened. But anyway, yeah, and just a lot of waking up and seeing a lot of things. I used to see matrix patterns. And then I went into these, there was one time where I started hearing, I woke up one night, it was just full on, there was this drum music, and Indian music, like Cherokee, Cherokee Indian music. And then 5 horns sounding very loud, boo, 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 like that. The music was really loud. I really thought someone had had a radio on, but nobody did have a radio on. It certainly got my attention. Now that got me into asking certain questions, because then I was like, oh, I'm getting woken up. And sometimes I was woken up 2-3 times a night with these visions and these things that were happening. And I was like, okay, I get it. I'm getting woken up so much, I really need to ask a certain question. And I had gone and seen a psychic reader who said, you're like a lighthouse. And I never told her what was happening. She just came out with, you're like a lighthouse and everybody's just coming to you. And I'm like, yeah, I need to take the reins of this. This is something, you know, I'm either going to get a lot of stuff that I don't understand and I can't get grasp of what's going on here, or I'm going to, you know, you're going to have to take the reins. So I remember going outside and I just went, right, that's it. This is what's going to happen. I want to meet somebody of high integrity that I can trust on my journey, and they can help me, you know, with clearing and my visions and stuff like that. And then I got this message in my mind saying, you don't need to. And I'm like, yeah, well, I changed my rules. I'm going to, because I need to. I've decided I need this. So I did that. And then these circumstances started happening after that. Yeah, and I said I wanted it to be truth with integrity. I remember, yeah. Anyway, I ended up meeting a friend, but only for a very short time. She ended up having a remote viewing with a lady called Grandmother Parisha from Ohio. And she said, you've got to see this lady. You just got to see her. And so I ended up taking her advice, and I took my 6-month-old child to Byron Bay. And when I sat down there and I got there, there was another lady there. It was just 2 of us in this big hall. We were first there because I was, you know, an hour and a half away. So I always leave with plenty of time. And this older lady walks in. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know what the elder looked like. And she came and sat next to the other person. I had a little chat to her. And then she came and sat next to me. And she said, hi, your baby. Do you know that your baby is going to be a profound leader? And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I thought, who is this lady? And then we ended up sitting in the hall, and I put a pillow down on the ground, because we were all on the ground with pillows, and I plonked Avalon, my youngest, down on the ground on this pillow, and it just so happened that she was right opposite Grandmother Parisha, was the lady that was talking to me. And then these other people sat on the wall next to her, next to Grandmother Parisha, and all of us as an audience facing her. And Avalon's just sitting there with her arms folded, back straight. I think she was about 6, 7 months old. And she's just looking around, and everyone's like, look at that baby. She looks like a little Buddha. And apparently Parisha was a Buddha Tara. Yeah, I don't want to disrespect her or anything, and I don't want to say anything wrong, so I won't speak unless I know absolutely. But in a previous life with Bhutan, I think it was, they actually gave her 1,000 monks to use energetically to help heal certain parts of the earth and stuff. So she was allowed to direct their energy in certain places around the world. And she was sent by her elders to go find what she calls buffalo hearts. So the buffalo hearts are souls that are straight from Pleiades that have come. She calls them the 144,000, and they're supposed to be souls that come straight from Pleiades to help. If one leaves the planet because of circumstance that they couldn't cope anymore, then another one would be born and so forth. And she was, in charge of that kind of thing. And really synchronicity, some synchronicity things that had happened. It was like there was a movie called The Knowing, and in The Knowing there was a teacher, and the teacher's name was P. Taylor, and Parisha's last name is Taylor. So it was really interesting because at the end of that movie, they were Pleiadian beings, and she said that at the end of that movie, those beings were the most similar to what we look like in our etheric form as these light workers that have come to Earth. So, and interesting enough, I had actually had message from those beings recently telling me that the government, the leaders will fall and there will be seekers advised. I think I've mentioned that before. Hey, Chris. Hey, Alison. I'm just telling my story today, so I won't be doing any reading. But don't worry, you can watch the replay. There's so much to this story. I love you heaps and so happy that you're here and that you're part of this. And chat away if you want. I might even, read some of what you say. But I'm going to focus on my story. So, so Parisha, when I met Parisha, I was just part of the crowd, just like everybody else. I sat down, and right at the very end of her amazing story, she was talking about... actually, I can't really remember in that first chat what she was talking about. But in any case, right at the very end, she asked if anyone wanted questions, and I was really hesitant. I did have a question because I was taught by guidance how to clear my mind, and I'd lost it when I came to Australia. Because I was, trying to resettle and everything. And they also told me that they're taking the trainer wheels off. They're not here to help me anymore. I have to get through this myself. I have to find clarity of my mind myself. So I didn't realize that at the time, though. So I tentatively put my hand up at the end there, and then she said, you, and I said, explained to her what had happened. She said, come here. So she called me up, and she put her hands on my head, and she started clearing my mind. And I'm like, okay. She said she was clearing neuron paths. Didn't even know what a neuron path was at the time. It's the little paths that are between your memories and your brain. And they're the paths that you have whole memories and stuff like that. So she was doing this. And for the next 2 weeks, I had a very clear mind again. And I'm like, okay, this lady has got my attention. So I went back to her a year later, and this is another crowd, so another 50 people, 60 people. And I was having trouble with this being that I was being attacked by, but in the family bloodline and stuff. And that was just before I actually, went up to her, like I told you, and asked her to come with me. So all of these stories are kind of interfused. There's a lot going on in my life all at the same time. I'm trying not to lose track with all of this as well. So anyway, she calls me up, again. And she said to me, she whispered in my ear. Now, I never said a darn thing to her, nothing. So I'm just part of the crowd, just like everyone else. And she whispers in my ear, let her go. You need to let her go. And I'm like, holy crap, I just had the dream of that being the night before. And here she is whispering in my ear, let her go. Does she know something that I don't know? It was pretty incredible. So then she said to me, I will be working with you. And that was something that she says when she would like to work with certain people. So the people that were working with her at the time rang me up later and asked me to go to Uluru, actually. I did end up manifesting the money 2 days before the trip, but I hadn't planned because I hadn't trusted. I hadn't planned the trip. So I didn't end up going to Uluru that time, but I did hear some pretty cool stories. And she's an amazing lady. The amount of stories that she has, she meets with spirits all the time. She meets with benevolent beings. She meets with even grey ETs and stuff like that. She can see through. She can see them. She does a lot of night work, and she holds focus for those that are here to make changes. So that was pretty cool. Now, I started working with her, and during this time, I was attacked. I was at a girlfriend's place, and she had a negative energy. I might have told you about this bit too, but she had a negative energy, and the negative energy went towards me. So when I was sleeping downstairs in her room, I woke up and I saw this reptilian being slide out of ours, and then he had a duffel coat on, and I could smell him, feel him, see him, everything. It was absolutely real to me. I sat up in bed and said, stop, don't come any further. He'd come closer. Every time I blinked, he'd come closer. It was like one of those horror movies. I knew he was not good. It was yuck. And then all of a sudden he was sitting on my bed, and he had his arm wrapped around my neck, and he's trying to push these pills in my mouth. And I just went, there's this calmness that came over me, and I just went, no, this ain't going to happen. And this is what we need to do. We need to take responsibility for our reality and just go, you know what, this isn't the way the story is going to play out. And I've done this several times in my storyline, just through certain circumstances with people, where I just turn around and gone, nah, this isn't the way it's going to work. This is my reality, and you take responsibility for your reality. No, this is not how it's going to happen. And all of a sudden, all my chakras went together in a big ball of light, and out flew this white light, and the reptilian disappeared because I lifted my vibration up. Not sure if I told that in a previous story, but in any case, I'm bringing it up again because at the time I was working with grandmother Parisha, I went up to her and told her the story, and she told me, later on, she was like, there's a negative energy here. Now, I had got rid of that being then, right? But I hadn't got rid of it coming back in my neuron paths and my mind, and playing tricks on my brain. So I was starting to become graspy, wanting attention, feeling like people are against me. That sort of feeling. Now, I'm bringing this up for you guys because I wanted to go as deep and as dark as I could go so that I could help others come out. So when you get that graspy, yucky feeling, when you get that feeling of neediness, there's usually some sort of, not always, but it could be leftovers of some being and stuff that you need to clear. So she said to me, my flowers have died. This room that we were in, she always has flowers. My flowers have died. Somebody's here that's not a very good energy. You need to get out. And all I said was, I asked one little question. She goes, get out. And I'm like, whoa, what now have I done? I was very upset, and I went outside, and I was like, if I can't do my journey, if I can't do my mission, take me now. I've had enough of this. And the wind starts swirling, and all of this, the energy is like happening around me, and then I'm like, damn, I'm still here. Okay, fine. So I swallowed my pride, and I went up to her and I apologized, and I said, yes, I am ready to listen. And then I went home. Now, I worked so darn hard on my mind. I just went, no, this is not going, this being's not going to get me. My marriage started falling apart because the being went from me to my ex, the being went from me to my friends, and my friendship fell apart. Everything fell apart. I remember when I split up with my ex, I looked outside the tent that I was in because I had nowhere to go. And here's this beautiful freaking skull cloud looking straight at me. And I'm like, oh, crap. But at the same time, I had this dream where I was in a, like, hanging on to a cliff edge, and I was hanging on so tight, and then I just went, that's it, I have to fall. And when I fell, the most incredible experience happened. This felt so real. I could feel the wind flying past my face, and I heard very clearly, I am in everyone. I am in everyone. I am in everyone. And I saw a baby, and I saw an old lady, and then I saw below me this massive matrix. It was like a geometrical pattern, lots of triangles in it, and I fell into that. And then I literally felt myself fall into my body. Now, I will be bringing up those matrix patterns and the somatics in another story when I go tap into the pineal gland and the information that I got about the pineal gland. So, yeah. Meanwhile, I did keep on meeting up with Parisha. She came to Brisbane. She came to Melbourne. I set up about 100 people to go see her. Yeah, nobody wanted to leave when she spoke. I remember she spoke about didgeridoo, and the sound of a didgeridoo could clear the vibration of cancer, certain cancers and stuff. It was all sorts of beautiful talks that she talked about. She was a most amazing person. There was one time in Melbourne when I went to see her, she said to me, come and sit next to me. Now, this was at a university in an auditorium where the seats were like, going up like that. And at the university, one of the fellows had organised a remote viewing movie, and she'd never seen the movie before, but she was meant to see the movie because she was going to have questions asked. Now, this is a really cool story. So she says to me, Bobbie, come and sit next to me. And hi, Franklin. Hi, Don. Hi, Holly. So she says, come and sit next to me. And she's just sitting there, and the movie starts playing, and she puts her hand out to hold my hand. And I'm like, that's unusual. Grandmother Parisha doesn't, usually hold hands. But okay, I'll hold her hand. I think she put her hand on my hand. That's right. And then she starts breathing in this really bizarre way. And I'm thinking, oh my God, the movie started. She has to ask questions. Has she fallen asleep? Because obviously I could feel her energy shift, being an empath, but she had shifted into a deep meditational place so that she could connect with me telepathically. All of a sudden, I'm feeling her presence within my mind, and it's absolute pure love. And she's asking me about my story, about my life, about how when I was a child that I wasn't hugged by my parents and stuff like that, and all of this other stuff came up. So we're just talking, and I'm telling her my story, and then all of a sudden the story within my mind would stop, and we would be focused on the movie, and then we'd come back to the story, and then we'd be focused on the movie, and so forth. Now, this happened for about an hour because the movie was about an hour long. And then she said to me, I said to her, because my left brain was going, what the heck is going on? Is this for real? I need confirmation. Part of myself is just questioning the shit out of this. And so I said to her telepathically, ask me to follow you back to USA, to America. And she said back to me, why would I do that? And I said to her, this is my confirmation. And she's like, okay. So she gets up, she stands up in front of everybody, and the questions were asked. Now, every single question that was asked was on what we saw in the movie. So as we're going phasing in and out, it was like she knew she had to watch that bit, she knew she had to watch that bit, and she knew she had to watch that bit because the other bits that the question is going to be asked about. And she even said in the audience to one of the guys that was in the audience, you want a question? You were really desperate to ask a question. He goes, yes, I'm busting. I need to know where the bathroom is. And went to the toilet. So she's just amazing. Also through this, there was other little stories that had happened where telepathic, maybe I should finish the telepathic story off properly. When I went back to the place that I was staying, it was a really, actually just before that happened, just after the actual movie had finished, she came up to me and she said, she called over her partner and she goes, Tony, very out loud, not telepathically, we want Bobbie to follow us back to America. And my jaw just dropped because it's exactly what I asked her to say while we were telepathic. Then she came up to me and she whispered in my ear, it's magical, isn't it? And I'm like, holy crap, this is for real. We can really do this. Humans can really talk telepathically. This is an absolute real thing. I went back to the place I was staying at, and the thing is with telepathic communication, it comes from a purity of each other's love. There's a connection that happens, and my left brain was going, hang on, she's an old lady, I don't love her, because I'm attaching love to the program in my brain of sex, and it wasn't really gelling very well because I'm not into having sex with people, with ladies, with people, yes, but not ladies, old ladies. Love her to bits, absolutely love her, but there was this fusion that happened in my brain that I had to really come to grasp with, and this is why people can go a little crazy. And she said to me, she is very aware that what she is told and asked to do can make you go a little nuts, because we have these fighting programs within us that we have to kind of get. But I'm at least strong enough to recognize what was happening, and I put it all in its appropriate box by the end of the night. But I just wanted to let you know that we need to clear these old programs first before we get into these new programs. That's very important. There was another time where I sat in a car with her, and I was thinking to myself, because I knew she had to do a lot of work helping a lot of light workers, and I was thinking, I wonder if I could help because I have some abilities. And she said to me, I just jumped in the car. Now, I never said a darn thing to her. I didn't even speak to her in this car. All I did was slide into the back seat with her. She sat next to me, and she turns to me and she just goes, Bobbie, you're not going to be able to help me. This is my journey. You have your journey. I'm like, wow, she's very clever. But she would tell me of stories when she was really little, how she could disappear into forests, and that her grandmother, because she was brought up by her by her grandmother, she was taken away from society for the first 9 years of her life, and then brought in slowly to the tribes and stuff like that. So she had a different upbringing than me. I went through the schooling system and had to find my way back. Very interesting. Okay, so that was that. Now I also went. So I'm really going to make this all mainly about grandmother Parisha, because these stories do go over a certain amount of years. I was invited to a Sundance 2010 with Parisha, a most amazing event I have ever gone to. She's incredible. So she would gather all of her light workers together. She created a big Sundance arena. So it's kind of like a huge circle, veranda circle. And inside, in the center is a kind of a smaller circle. And then there was 4 directions. So there was the buffalo, the eagle, the Oh, I'm just trying to get this right. The buffalo, well, actually, I know it's on the back of my cards. The buffalo, the eagle. Oh, I've got the bear and the wolf. The wolf and the bear. Buffalo. Buffalo and eagle are opposite, I think, and the wolf and the bear. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So in the Sundance, we all had to go through 28 days of no sugar whatsoever. I also no meat, and no root vegetables, because I was also preparing to do a vision quest at the same time. In the vision quest, you don't do root vegetables because you're elevating your soul out of, for a moment out of here, so that you can do a vision quest out, with your soul. This is a fairly long story. I'll try to make it quicker than what I'm making it. So the Sundance had happened where the people that were actually doing the Sundance would go for very strict diets. They wouldn't talk to each other. They became almost telepathic with each other because they didn't talk to each other for so long. They come in and they would do these 4-directional dance, and they just did it over and over and over and over and over again for 2 hours straight, holding their heads up to the sun. And us around the outside, I wasn't part of that inner circle. I was on the outside cheering them on, and we would drum and stuff like that and get them to do the work. And our intention was to plug up the oil leak that was in between America. There was like a huge oil leak that was happening at the time, and other, fixing up any other healings that we were doing around the earth. And it did actually happen that was stopped. That huge oil leak was stopped. That was in the Gulf between the two, North and South America. And funnily enough, I had also just previously been on a cruise ship around that actual area, and I was told to do the Merkaba at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had been gifted these, I bought these beautiful little highly unconditional love crystals, and I was told to put one out in the area where this event, where the oil spill was going to happen. I didn't know that was going to happen at the time. I was just told to do this. And then when I come to the Sundance, we had these crystals that were already there that we could focus on and ignite. So it's funny how everything just kind of happens to help heal Mother Earth and all of the areas that are happening. So at the Sundance, certain amount of events happened. I did wake up just before Parisha let the Sundancers do a wild dance in between. Like when she felt the energy shift, she would let them go into their own dance and stuff like that. And just before that happened, I woke up and saw, I think she calls them the chickeninas. I'm not sure if I'm saying that name right, but they are the clouds that come down. So what she said was, the clouds, what we're doing is we're like a huge atom, and we are vibrating so loud that we're bringing the elders in, we're bringing the principal people in to say, what's happening there? So when they come in, they can come in as forms of faces in the clouds. So I saw a literal 3D face looking down at me. I'm like, wow, that was the most precise 3D face looking at me when I woke up. And straight after I woke up, the Sundance went into a shift into a different energy, and the Sundances were let free. And then there was some really amazing feelings and the energies that were happening. Just before the Sundance, actually, I know I'm going backwards and forwards, sorry about this, we were putting all of the sages and the different herbs around the outside, because we put all those and we smoke them so that the energy goes out to the rest of the world. And when I was putting those down, I saw on my shamanic sign, the eagle, I saw a little turtle, and he had little fingerprints kind of on his back, all in gold. I remember thinking, oh, many hands are turning gold. That's interesting. So I think that's one of the reasons why when she pricked my finger, and when she pricks your finger to go to find your name, to find your soul lineage, she'll do a meditation. She says she was trying to find, people's soul, where they've come from. She said I was very hard to find. She had to meditate twice on me to find me. And I think that's because I was in a hiding for a while until this energy has shifted, which has just happened. And that's why I'm now coming out. So on the back of the, sorry, I'm jumping. So she said with the name thing that she would go through all of this, the soul lineage, and find out where you come from and then bring it back. And she writes it up as a story. And the story that was written for me was all to do with Gaia, to do with Allah. So there was a story of Allah's holding, she was living in I don't want to do this wrong. This is why I'm kind of hiccuping about this, because I actually only just lost this letter. Otherwise, I would read it out to you. And I think I had to lose it because I had to find myself again. But anyway, the story kind of went that Gaia was happily with humanity, and then, thriving. And then humanity was meddling. And when they meddled, they were meddling into the actual creation of things. And so the principal people all gathered. And when the principal people gathered, they decided to hide a specific key, a code, so that the humanity would fall. And that code would be held in the depths of Gaia and by someone specific, and that's my code. So I held the code to bring back the new earth and to get people reigniting their right brain. And so my name was Alanawa, which is turtle, where I carried the code on the back of the turtle to bring people home, to bring people back to the new earth. And also Nanahi. Nanahi is fairy, and she said, but I am the creator of fairy. So I think I have something to do with, and I have seen myself as a tube of light going into Gaia. And this was earlier on last year, and there was lots of tubes of light that were in the center of Gaia coming to rebirth something new, and I was representing humanity. Anyways, so that happened. Sundance, holy crap, there's just so much. Trying to remember it all that happened. So after that, I'm sure I'm missing out on a lot of the Sundance stories, and I'll probably end up reverting back to them if I start remembering them again, because so much happened. I had an experience of, I think it was just before the Sundance, where I manifested something, or a four-leaf clover. I was back at Kenilworth at the camping place where I saw the rainbow and the rectangle stone that I found, and the true stone. And when I was on the hill, I decided I was going to practice stilling my mind and manifesting something real time. And I didn't want to make it too difficult for myself, because, if you do, then you're going to set yourself up to fail. But I decided, I've not seen a four-leaf clover around. Maybe I'll manifest a four-leaf clover. That would be really cool. So I sat down on this beautiful hill around the same place as where I saw the rainbow in. This is a few years after I found the truth stone, by the way. And I sat down and I thought, I'm going to just still my mind completely, because the spirits and guides have taught me how to still my mind. And I'm going to recreate a new reality where I focused on picking a four-leaf clover. So I sat down, I closed my eyes. I did not look anywhere. I just closed my eyes completely and meditated, stilled my mind for long enough. I could only do it for probably a minute, 30 seconds or something. It's not the easiest place to hold absolutely nothing when you're used to having all of this monkey mind chats and everything. But I can do it. And I'm sure, I know this is where we're going because I was taught in dreams that's what it feels like. You're so present when you are in the fifth dimension. That's how the fifth dimension comes to Earth, is we still our minds and we live in moment to moment with clarity. So, yeah, I just closed my eyes and I picked a blade of grass with my left hand. I didn't look. I still had my eyes closed. I pulled the blade of grass in front of my face and I just stared. I opened my eyes and stared at this 4-leaf clover. And then I went, oh, OMG, oh my God, I have to watch every single friggin' thought. I have to watch every single thought because I'm creating my own reality. And when I was at the Sundance, I was finding 4-leaf clovers everywhere. And I ended up tripping. I just started having it. It's like they just keep showing up. I ended up creating these little, I don't know if you can see them, bookmarks. That's the 4-leaf, one of the 4-leaf clovers in there. Believe it in Europe here. I mean, this is really old. And I did this one as well. It's amazing what you can create from the inside. And here's the 4-leaf clover. Yeah. So I wanted to share all of those stories today. Yeah, I think I've touched on most of everything. So happy to see you guys in the chat line. I love you heaps. You're my greatest peoples. And so good to be on this journey with you guys. I have so much more still to share. So the next story, I'm going to start touching on the beings that came to me over the span of like 10 years. So we've got the Palladians, we've got the Anunnaki, we've got the Lyrans, and we've got the reptilians were already we've touched on with their little agendas and trying to get me out of my own shell. And the reason why also I brought up that story and the reptilian attack is they had to come first because they had to push me out of my comfort zone of who I was and realize my power. It's not until somebody pushes you very far that you start to realize your power. And this is what's happening with humanity at the moment. We have been pushed to the point where we have to spark and realize our own power so that we can start creating our own reality, so that we realize we don't need leadership anymore because we are going to connect with the source energy again, with our right brain, with our intuition, with our spark within ourselves. And learn to use our imagination properly again instead of using it for, the horror stories and everything that they try to get you into and living in that lower frequency, so that we can create something beautiful on Earth. And I am so excited about what we're going to create next. So thank you so much for listening in on my story. That was part 3, and I think there's going to be a few more. So love you all, and I will see you soon. I'm going to do a reading soon for people, another reading, and I also have a class coming up too. My classes are on Friday with the elite, quantum elite community. You can find them on Facebook through my page. I do this beautiful class now where I'm igniting people into remembering who they are, and we are going to create some beautiful reality together. I've brought through some beautiful messages from source energy for this weekend. I've created the most amazing videos from them. I am so excited to share, and connection to our tribes, connection so that we can ignite ourselves again and connect to our tribes again. So I'm really excited about that. That's very early Australian Brisbane time at 6:30 in the morning. So whatever Australian Brisbane time is for you on the other side of the world, and whatever, 6:30 in the morning on Friday morning. So it's possibly going to be on Thursday night for, those in America or somebody like that. But that will be happening this week. Absolutely. I am so excited about that one. And I might be doing a reading in between for people just to connect with you guys again, because I love connecting. Thank you very much, Franklin. Hi, Stephen, and love seeing you guys and love sharing my stories. Thank you. Bye.